world, even places. Good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, in whichever part of the world that you find yourself. I know that this morning's panel discussion would be extremely insightful. I am extremely excited about it because as accounting academics, we don't just do research, we also teach. And it's important that we help the next generation of accountants to be all-rounded professionals. So thank you. This morning, we're privileged to have AAFA President, Professor Moses Yinka. He would be moderating the session. We also have Dr. Susan Smith, and then the man who doesn't need too much introduction, Professor Trevor Hooper. Once I hand it over to Professor Moses Yinka, he would introduce everybody. Once again, thank you so much for making it this morning, and I'm excited to see what we can do. And welcome to all our Francophone participants as well. At different points, Conan, I see you. At different points, we would pause a bit and allow Conan to do a little bit of introduction in that manner or speak a little bit. Thank you all very, very much. And I'm excited. I hope you're as excited as I am. Thank you. Over to you, Prof. Yinka.
Thank you very much, Dr. Theodora, and welcome everyone. Like Theodora said, the AAFA is really passionate about thought leadership in the African continent and the diaspora. So this is just one of those many events we bring your way. Before I go deep into introducing our panelists for the day, Conan, if you can just quickly give our Francophone audience a quick, translation summary of what Theodore and myself would have just said.
Ok, so morning everyone, bonjour tout le monde. Je suis Conan, aussi membre d'AFA, et donc Théodora est responsable donc de le côté, on va dire, anglophone des ateliers que nous organisons. Et donc pour ce coup-ci-là, c'est deux invités majeurs, donc Susan Smith et puis Trevor Hooper, donc sur la thématique que vous avez vue. Yinka est en train de dire qu'il est très heureux de ce que AFA est en train de faire et AFA est en train de travailler sur la question du leadership dans la recherche en Afrique. Et donc, c'est vraiment cette dimension-là qu'il essaie de travailler. By the way, I just joined also, so I missed part of what you said. So I just translated the part that, right, that I heard.
All right.
Okay, so now,
Thank you so much.
I'll be, yeah.
Okay, without really wasting time, I think it's a great pleasure to have Professor Susan Smith and Professor Trevor Hopper with us today. What I'll do, I'll probably welcome you first, Susan, and at the risk of trying to introduce you the wrong way, I'll give you the chance to tell us 5 minutes about really what you do and really the space you occupy in the accounting education globally. Welcome, please.
Thank you very much. I'm absolutely delighted to be here today and meeting new people and learning from you, hopefully, as well. So my name's Susan Smith. I'm a professor of accounting at University College London. And I am the lead on the Accounting Streams project, which is what we're talking to you about today. And there are lots of ways that you can get involved, and I really hope that some of you will take us up on that. What other things am I involved in? So I'm part of the European Accounting Association Education Committee, and I've recently been appointed to the IFAC International Panel for Accounting Education, which looks at the professional qualification routes globally. I'm very excited about that. I've only just started my term, and I'm more than happy to talk to people if they're interested about the work that that panel is doing. So I'll hand over to Trevor.
All right, thank you, Susan. Probably, Conan, can you give a recap before we bring Trevor?
Yeah, bring Trevor first because I'm pulling all the files so that I can do a proper recap, right? So
okay,
Trevor, and then I'll do the recap.
But like Theodore said, Trevor doesn't need introduction, but we will still introduce you today, Trevor. So So you're welcome to tell us a little bit about who Trevor Hopper is.
Okay.
Trevor?
Are you waiting for me
Yes.
to speak? Right,
Yes,
okay.
please.
It's just I can only see Susan's pretty face on my screen.
Oh, oh, really? Okay, maybe I'll spotlight you as well. Here we go.
Oh,
Right, okay, that's good. Yeah, I'll speak briefly. Those of you who want to know much more about me in detail can look at my profile on the University of Sussex. I'm long in the tooth in accounting research and accounting education. Uh, I've worked at various UK universities, Wolverhampton, Sheffield, Manchester, and now Sussex, where I'm an emeritus professor. A lot of my work's been on the more critical side, doing intensive case studies, particularly on management control systems. But I've also written and researched on accounting education, accounting history, accounting theory, many other topics. But one of the things I've been very proud of being involved with, although in a very minor role, is the African Accounting and Finance Association, which I think is developing wonderfully and has some wonderful people. And just in case you're wondering why it looks so sunny in the back, it's because I'm not in the UK, I'm in Africa, near Cape Town. So that's about me.
Thank you so much, Trevor. Conan, do you want to go now?
Yeah, absolutely. So, donc, deux invités aujourd'hui. On a professeur Suzanne Smith. Donc, professeur Suzanne Smith est professeure à University College of London. Et donc, elle est vraiment impliquée dans ces questions de éducation en comptabilité. L'idée aussi pour nous d'être dans l'éducation en comptabilité est très importante parce que c'est une dimension de recherche assez forte. Elle est membre de différentes organisations qui portent sur la question de l'éducation en comptabilité. Donc, ça, c'est l'introduction de professeur Suzanne Bain, voilà. Pardon, Suzanne Smith. Et pour Trevor Hooper, alors Trevor Hooper est une personnalité assez importante dans la communauté AFA parce que Trevor Hooper est professeur émérite. Lui, il est professeur émérite à l'Université de Sussex. Pour l'instant, il dit qu'il est en Afrique. C'est pour ça qu'il y a du soleil derrière lui. Mais il a été très impliqué aussi dans AFA, dans la recherche critique, dans soutenir les chercheurs africains, justement. Et il est donc très, très, très content aussi de participer à ce panel-là sur la question de l'éducation. Et pour nous, dans la partie francophone, c'était important qu'il y ait aussi des francophones ici. Pourquoi? Ça, c'est moi qui rajoute, c'est que la dimension éducation en comptabilité n'est pas suffisamment recherchée dans l'espace francophone. Et donc, c'est vraiment, voilà, ça a été très court. On vous a allaité de façon très courte, mais on est très heureux que vous puissiez être là aussi. Thank you, Yinka. It's just a recap, not a word-to-word translation, but a recap of the main ideas.
Thank you so much, and that will be sufficient. All right, we'll go straight into business, but a couple of things to just say. We're very grateful to have over 250 registration for this event, and I think it speaks to how much interest there is. And we have people dialing in from across 41 different countries in the world. And another very good statistics is we've got about 56% of people attending today as people attending the AAFA event for the first time. So thank you everybody for joining. You want to translate that before I call Susan to give her opening
Ah,
remarks?
yeah, OK. Donc, il est très heureux. J'ai oublié les chiffres, mais il est très heureux. C'est que quand il fait les statistiques entre les inscrits et les participants, on est à peu près à 56%, je crois, et à peu près 200 inscrits, donc beaucoup de nationalités. Donc, ça correspond à peu près aux statistiques de la première conférence d'AFA. Donc, il en est très content. Voilà.
Merci.
Yeah, you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Susan, the floor is yours. I would welcome you to tell us a little bit. So today we'll be talking about shaping the future of accounting education. How is accounting streams making a difference? So if you want to just take us through the journey, what exactly is accounting stream and what are we here for? And that will be very good. Thank you so much.
Yinka, is it possible that Trevor goes first and sort of sets the scene and then I talk about the project?
Absolutely.
Because I think
you're welcome to do that.
that might that might just set the landscape a little bit.
Perfect. So Trevor, you want to? So
So
are you
okay with
sure?
you, Trevor?
Okay.
Sure, I agree with you, Susan. I've just got one question. Do I go straight through the presentation, or do I have to stop for translations into French?
Now,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
what's going on?
So I think, Trevor, you know what? So once you feel like you want me to translate some things, you let me know, right? So that you have,
Right.
you manage the flow of your presentation. Okay, I'll kind of, make a recap of the broad ideas that you'll be, bringing.
Okay. Yeah. Are you ready to start?
Yes,
Right.
I'm ready.
Yeah. These presentations really are on two things. One, and it's what I'm going to talk about more generally, is the need for accounting reform and how accounting needs to be reformed. And then Susan is going to be talking about a project that she's been leading with others on called Accounting Streams, which is delivering teaching materials, which is consistent with what a lot of people seeking accounting reform are wanting to do. Next slide, please. Next slide, yeah. Right. Now, the first thing, if you go, yeah. Yeah, the calls for accounting reform aren't new. If you go to the very bottom of this slide, there's been a whole series of reports calling for accounting education reform. But what's remarkable is actually how little change there's been globally. So what have these sort of things been doing? Well, basically, they've been calling for accounting education to be not merely topic-based curricula ticking off learning about this standard or that accounting technique, but concerned much more with also developing skills, particularly problem solving and soft skills such as critical analysis, communication, and the ability to learn continuously, not just learning doesn't stop when you've finished your degree, and also the ability to work in groups, multidisciplinary, cross-functional groups, and to be adaptable. And to do this, the calls for reform have consistently asked for a less didactic and rote learning emphasis and much more on dialogic teaching, where students are exposed to debate and involvement and fundamental questioning. So basically, this involves lesser concentration on technical bookkeeping exercises, rules, and standards. That doesn't mean that they disappear, but they will be perhaps taught more in a conceptual way rather than in fine detail and complicated bookkeeping exercises. And the calls mean that for more experiential learning, internships, case studies, simulations, role-playing exercises. And also, there's been a consistent call for much more incorporation on accounting research topics and findings. For example, more on sustainability, accountability, accounting and accountability in government and third sector organisations, a concern with development and public interest issues. Next slide, please. So why the increasing pressures for reform now? Well, the roles of accountants are changing and have been changing for decades. Quite obviously, information technology is replacing much of the routine bookkeeping and financial roles. I've got a black streak down the side. I can't fully see my slides, but anyway. And also, it's artificial intelligence will probably enhance or replace many analytical exercises currently done by accountants. Now, the future demand for accountants is unclear. Some think that demand may decrease, others think it may increase because there's going to be tighter rules on tax, audit and regulation. But what is clear is that, and has been clear for decades, employers want accountants with much broader skills, strategic insight, technological expertise, particularly in IT, but also able to have global awareness. So to some extent, they want accountants who are hybrids, part of financial expert, data analyst and strategist, who can combine technical accounting knowledge with these other digital and advisory capabilities. We also know, with regard to accounting knowledge, standards, rules and methods have very short shelf life. Probably, if you're just teaching this at the moment, in 10 years' time, probably only 10% of that will be relevant. So again, it's the skill development that's important, and we've also, accompanying this, had rapid development in the research arenas on new topics: environmental, social and governance reporting, cybersecurity, risk analysis, and so on. The research is changing. Also, there are recruitment problems. In some jurisdictions, enrollments on accounting degrees are declining. But what's more important, has been important for a long time, is that many employers have been reluctant to recruit accounting graduates. They're often preferring to recruit MBAs or get trainees from other disciplines, and other managerial functions are often doing accounting tasks. And there's been constant complaints from employers that many of the accounting graduates don't have the social and intellectual skills and social skills that they seek. Next slide, please. Now, there are 3 initiatives on accounting reform which we're going to talk about. One is, there's interesting moves going on quality assurance bodies that regulate and accredit accounting degrees. I'm just going to mention one which I'm more familiar with the UK Quality Assurance Agency for Higher Education, but this is part of an international network of similar agencies. Secondly, I'll talk very briefly about academics' calls to redefine accounting. I'll reproduce that definition in a few moments. And then Susan will come on about how teaching materials are being developed and can be developed further to address the sort of issues which reformers are seeking. Next slide, please. Yeah. The UK Quality Assurance Agency for Higher Education, it's an independent expert body that works on behalf of the higher education sector. And its role is to safeguard and set benchmark standards in subject areas, including accounting. So it's got lots of different subcommittees. And the teams that devise the standards are not just academics, but professional representatives and employers. And together they work out what an accounting degree should include. But the UK Quality Assurance body is one of several similar bodies worldwide. There is one in Europe, there is a European Association for Quality Assurance, for example. And so the UK one is recognised internationally as part of a broader network of agencies that share common goals, comparability, transparency and trust. Next slide, please. Right, and this diagram, we're just going to look at it very quickly, gives some idea of the global reach of international developments in standards and quality. And as you can see, it's very broad. It's an international, loosely linked body of quality assurance agencies. Next slide, please. Right. So, how has the 2025 UK quality assurance exercise redefined accounting degree education? And it has redefined this quite considerably. Firstly, it's saying that a degree should enable students to understand accounting's role in a socio-economic context and promote responsible government. It should seek to develop ethical professionals and who are responsible citizens. In other words, a public interest, and move beyond profit and capital measurement. We're not saying that would disappear entirely, but also to be much more concerned about broader value creation for society. And within this much more work to embed sustainability and social, environmental, and political perspectives on accounting into the curricula. Also, to expand the curricula much more to consider non-profit contexts and organisations, such as accounting and accountability in government organisations, charities, cooperatives, social enterprises, and so on. And very important, and going back to the arguments we make about the need to develop important skills in accounting, to equip students to manage change, uncertainty, and complex judgment. In other words, develop the skills we've been referring to earlier. And lastly, much of the curricula and teaching needs to be based on research and current critical debates on accounting and accountability. Now, this is quite different from the kind of tick box of topics that often dominate accounting curricula in many universities. Next slide, please. Next is the calls to redefine accounting. And there's a call that's attracted worldwide interest. It's a call by Gary Carnegie, Lee Parker, and Tessa Harundu to ditch conventional definitions of accounting, which are too focused on record keeping, informing business decisions, or reporting for corporations. Instead, they redefine accounting as a technical. They're not saying abandon the technical material, but it may have to be taught in a different way, and to also see accounting as a social and a moral practice. For example, accounting creates reality and judgments throughout society, and it should be concerned with the sustainable utilization of resources and proper accountability to stakeholders, not just shareholders, but local communities, civil society, customers, and so on, to enable the goal of flourishing of organizations, but not just organization, people, i.e. society, and nature itself. Next slide, please. And this is why I think the accounting reform initiative by accounting streams is so important, because it's a grassroots, collaborative, innovative exercise in providing accounting education and educators with the teaching materials to develop a generation of versatile decision makers who value accountability and sustainable development. And at this point, I'll hand over to Susan.
Probably before going to Susan, so Trevor, as I said, I will go probably for a quick recap in French. Is that okay,
Sure.
Theodora?
Yeah, sure.
All right, good. Donc, pour les francophones qui sont dans l'espace, donc, de ce que Trevor Hooper vient de présenter, bon, je pense que tout le monde comprend anglais, a vu aussi les slides, mais je vais faire un résumé rapide en français. Donc, il a dit qu'il allait présenter le besoin de réforme de la comptabilité et qu'est-ce qu'on a vraiment besoin de reformer, et puis en quoi est-ce que la notion de comptabilité stream, cette idée de comptabilité stream portée par Susan Smith, en quoi est-ce que ça pourrait correspondre à la redéfinition de la comptabilité. Alors, ce qu'il a mentionné aussi, c'est que cette question de redéfinir la comptabilité ne date pas d'aujourd'hui, elle date des années 1980, mais ça a été quelque chose dans laquelle les réformes ont été relativement lentes. Mais de quoi s'agit-il dans cette idée de réforme? C'est de ne pas percevoir la comptabilité uniquement comme un exercice d'enregistrement de transactions économiques, mais c'est de faire en sorte que la comptabilité soit dialogique, c'est-à-dire que la comptabilité permette de cultiver une sorte d'esprit critique et que soit ancré aussi dans les problématiques de la société. Et donc, euh, une des préoccupations de Accounting Stream, c'est donc de développer du matériel qui puisse correspondre à cette redéfinition de la comptabilité. Alors, il a dit aussi, mais pourquoi est-ce qu'il y a une pression sur le besoin de réforme de la comptabilité? Ben, c'est simplement parce que avec le développement des technologies, comme on peut le voir, il apparaît que toute la partie mécanique de la comptabilité, c'est-à-dire la partie de l'enregistrement des comptes, ben, tout ça va être pris en compte par des algorithmes, en fait. Et donc, finalement, euh, les compétences que l'on recherche auprès des diplômés comptables, ce sont vraiment des compétences de vue à 360 degrés sur les problématiques de la société et pas uniquement sur la dimension technique. Alors, un autre point qu'il mentionne qui est très intéressant, c'est que les recruteurs, en tout cas dans les contextes qu'il connaît bien, ben, les recruteurs commencent à recruter moins des étudiants expressément diplômés en comptabilité. Pourquoi? Parce qu'on leur reproche d'être purement technique et de ne pas suffisamment être ancré dans la société. Donc, face à un diplômé comptable ou un MBA, les recruteurs vont préférer plutôt un MBA, par exemple. Pourquoi? Parce qu'ils considèrent que les étudiants MBA ont de la compétence sociale au-delà de la compétence technique. Je dirais en plus de la compétence technique, même si la plupart des MBA restent assez générique. Donc, il a montré un exemple de type de réflexion qui est menée en Angleterre par une organisation indépendante d'assurance qualité dans l'enseignement supérieur en Angleterre. Donc, c'était pour illustrer un peu le travail qui était en train d'être fait là-bas. Et là-bas, cette organisation-là ben, a redéfini ce que c'est que la comptabilité. Et donc, cette redéfinition de la comptabilité montre bien qu'on va désormais au-delà de la question purement technique de la comptabilité pour que la comptabilité soit ancrée dans la société. Et donc, il renvoie un peu au dernier papier que Carnegie et ses co-auteurs ont écrit sur, finalement, c'est quoi la comptabilité? Ben, la comptabilité est donc conçue maintenant pas uniquement comme technique, mais aussi comme une pratique à la fois sociale et morale. Et donc, par conséquent, va questionner tout un ensemble de redevabilités dans la société. Et cette redevabilité n'est pas uniquement vis-à-vis des actionnaires, mais c'est aussi à la fois des sociétés civiles, mais aussi à la fois des populations, des communautés qui vivent sur un territoire. Donc voilà un peu, je fais ce résumé rapide pour qu'on puisse continuer. So thank you very much. This is it for the recap. And then Susan, I'm going to hand it over to you and I'm going to do the same thing. I'll be taking a bit of note and then at the end of the presentation, I'll make the recap in French. Floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So, as Trevor said, there are a number of criticisms of accounting education, which have been enduring over a long period of time. And very often we were, certainly in the UK, but elsewhere, other forums that I'm a member of, have been having the discussion where we're saying we'd like to change things, but we can't do anything because of the professional accreditations, because of a whole variety of different issues. So after hearing this numerous times over numerous years, I got together a group of people in 2023 and said, okay, what can we do? Let's turn it around and see what we can do. And that's really where the Accounting Streams project came from. So, as Trevor said, it's a grassroots initiative. It's led by myself, Professor Richard Murphy from the University of Sheffield, and Jenny Rose from the University of Manchester. So, what is it? Well, it's a free open access textbook, and it's been written by a whole collection of different academics who have collaborated with us to write in areas where they have expertise. So, it's aimed at an introductory level. So it covers both financial accounting and management accounting, but at that introductory level. We thought it was a good place to start because very often in accounting degrees, what we see is the social ideas around accounting and the ethical ideas around accounting coming in the very final year. But of course, by that point, students' mindsets are quite fixed because they've spent a couple of years learning about accounting as being right or wrong, and it's very, very technical often. Not in all cases, but that's very often what the pattern that we see. So we thought we'd start at the introductory level, and then maybe in future we'll build up. But at the moment, it's an introductory textbook that we have. We also have an instructor resource centre, which I'll talk to you a little bit about in a few minutes. We run workshops and webinars from time to time, and obviously today is an introductory webinar with you, but we're more than happy to talk to university departments or anybody else if you would like us to do a session for you, and we can focus it around specific topics if that's of interest. We have a new project that's in the works called Grand Challenges, Accounting as a Solution. And this really looks at how accounting techniques can help us solve some of those big problems that we see, and integrate theory as well. So we're very excited about that. So who's using principles of accounting? Well, it turns out quite a few people. So you can see we're focused on Africa today, that quite a lot of people have discovered us without any specific or detailed interactions. This is our first with the AAFA. So hopefully that map will suddenly colour in even more. Our top countries for use are the UK, US, Malaysia, Brazil, and Ireland, but that's at the moment. So maybe we can see some African countries coming through as well. And we've had, since we launched, over 80,000 interactions, and that's growing at the rate of around 1,000 a week, I would say, at the moment. So what does it look like? Well, the chapters are online, so they're interactive, they're mobile optimized, so students can see them on their mobile phones and have a good reading experience there as well. We start from the premise where we're saying, where does accounting come from? What's it trying to do? And then how do we define accounting? And we adopt that broader definition that Trevor was talking about, that Gary Carnegie and colleagues have put forwards. And that really sets the scene for the rest of the textbook. We integrate videos. So there's a video here about how accounting affects behavior. So what we do is we can bring some of these issues to life through case studies. And there's also integrated, there we go. We've got reflection points, which students can mark as reflected as they go through the textbook, or you can use those to stimulate discussion in class. And as students work through a chapter, a tile builds along the bottom of the screen as they go through the reflections and mark them. We also have inbuilt quizzing, which they can check answers immediately as they go through the chapter. There are embedded cases. So this is an example from Unit 20, which is around sustainable management accounting. So this is a company based in Portugal, which makes its costing very, very transparent. And you could link it up with a visit to the factory if that was of interest. I'm sure there are similar examples in your geography that you could add on or supplement with. We have an instructor resource centre, which looks like this. You have to register for it, but it's a light touch registration, it's filling out a form, and then we can give you access to it. Why does it require registration? It's because the answers to the case studies lie there, and we don't want them in, or we want to limit the general circulation of those, because people will be trying to use those in class, and they don't want the students to turn up with perfect responses that they've taken from the answers. So as you can see, there's some suggestions, but there's also a variety of different resources. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how you can contribute to those resources. So the resources take the form of case studies, which you have seen similar types of things through case centres. They come with an instructor manual, learning outcomes, suggested use in class, and also the case for the students. We also have a series of quick cases, which are very popular. This is an example of one that was contributed by Nadia Golko, Karen McBride, and Nick McGuigan. So you may know those names, some of you. And as you can see, and this is something that is of interest to you as academics, if you're thinking of contributing to our resources, you will get a DOI for your accepted contribution. And that DOI helps you to track, well, firstly, it gives you a citation. Secondly, it helps you to track the views and downloads of your case. And you can see that quite clearly here for this quick case that I'm featuring. So over 1,300 views and 300 downloads in a matter of months. We've also got some gamification. A colleague, Dr. Michael Gao, has developed a series of games which are quite fun and help students reinforce some of the more technical learning. So this one is a variance vault. He's set it up as an escape room. He also has games around double entry, practicing, and so on. So these are fun and just help students reinforce some of the more technical skills. And we have some music as well to help students remember some of the core concepts. Professor Stephen Coetzee at the University of Pretoria in South Africa has created some accounting songs that are mapped to some of our chapters. And those are available through the Instructor Resource Centre or through the Accounting Beats YouTube channel. We have a custom GPT that we've created, very much experimental at the moment, but quite fun. It asks you what country you're in, so it should come up with the correct currency and something a little bit more country specific, but we'd be keen to know how well it covers some of the African countries from you when you're using it. So that would be great feedback for us so that we can then fine-tune the tutor so that it is more adaptable. And we view this as very much a community of people. So you can use the textbook, you can use it in whole or in part. It's easy to integrate into your existing materials. All you need to do is drop the URL into your VLE or however you distribute materials to your students. As I said, we're really keen to hear people's feedback, and that's a really important thing because this has been built by a community of contributors and it needs to be fit for the wider community and the use the real use that people have. You can join our mailing list. We have an extensive mailing list. We mail about every 6 to 8 weeks with new developments, ideas. We do spotlight features on people. So if anybody would like to be spotlighted about the work that you're doing in accounting education, and also in terms of using the accounting streams materials, we'd be more than happy to hear from you. We have a LinkedIn group. There's around 3,000 people in our LinkedIn group. And again, we post reasonably frequently, or when I remember, if I'm brutally honest, to our LinkedIn group. So, but we do post all developments to the LinkedIn group. So if you're on LinkedIn and want to stay up to speed with what's happening, that's a good way of hearing things first. You can contribute to the resources, as I mentioned, and we'd be delighted to have case studies and other resources that draw on your context, because I think that that's of interest to students in the UK and elsewhere. Very often we see very samey types of materials, and I think it's good that we have a broader appreciation of the accounting context. And of course, join our workshops, webinars, as and when that suits you. We will be making calls for expression of interest where we have bigger pieces that we're looking for support on. So that might be in the future, we might look to do a case collection, perhaps in collaboration with the AAFA. We might be looking for reviewers for our materials, and we'll make those a call for expressions of interest, both through LinkedIn and through our mailing list. And as I said, absolutely everybody is welcome to participate in a way that suits you, because we view this very much as community owned. This is my email address if anybody would like to contact me directly. The URL for the Accounting Streams project is here, and our LinkedIn group page is here as well. So Conan.
Fantastic. Susan, thank you very much. So I'm gonna go quick also in here. Donc, la présentation de Suzanne est très intéressante. Pourquoi? Parce que c'est une présentation qui répond à la problématisation que Trevor Hooper avait déjà posée, c'est-à-dire on a besoin de réforme de la comptabilité. Bien. Maintenant, il y a cette urgence de réforme, donc il nous faut aussi du matériel pédagogique pour aller vers cette réforme. D'où l'idée de Accounting Stream. Right? Donc, Suzanne Smith est avec, I think it's Richard Murphy and then Jenny Rose, right? The people with who you developed that. Can you repeat the name, please?
Yes.
The first one.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
absolutely right. Yeah.
fantastic. So they're coming from Sheffield and Manchester, right? Both of them.
Yes.
Voilà, donc ces compères viennent donc de Manchester et de Sheffield, et donc ont développé ça. Donc depuis 2023, ils ont lancé ça. Alors, ce qui est intéressant, c'est que c'est donc c'est donc un support pédagogique. C'est un support pédagogique qui est libre, qui est sur Internet. Donc, vous pouvez accéder à ça sur Internet et c'est organisé par chapitre. Il y a des ressources pour les enseignants. Donc, ceux d'entre vous qui êtes enseignants, si ce qui est développé là-bas vous intéresse, vous pouvez vous inscrire et puis avoir accès à ces ressources. Il y a des ateliers réguliers qu'elle et son groupe organisent. Et ce qu'ils essaient de faire, c'est de lier la comptabilité au... Il y a une notion de grand challenge, hein, grand challenges dans la recherche en gestion en général. Donc, en quoi est-ce que la comptabilité peut répondre à ces grands enjeux? Donc, pour l'Afrique, la question, c'est quoi les grands enjeux de l'Afrique et puis comment la comptabilité peut intervenir. Alors, depuis qu'elles ont créé ça, à peu près 80 000 interactions qu'elles ont, les chapitres sont en ligne. Vous pouvez aussi consulter ça sur votre téléphone mobile. Il y a aussi des vidéos dans lesquelles vous avez des points de réflexion, de la simulation. Il y a aussi des questions au fur et à mesure de la lecture du livre. Il y a des études de cas, par exemple, aussi qui sont là-dedans. Et puis, ce qu'elle dit aussi, c'est que ben, elle invite aussi les gens à participer. Donc, par exemple, à proposer des études de cas. Ce qui est intéressant, c'est que les études de cas, quand vous les publiez, vous avez des DOI. Les DOI, c'est l'identité d'une publication intellectuelle. Et donc, ce qui fait qu'on peut identifier cette publication-là. Vous pouvez regarder quel est le nombre de personnes qui téléchargent, qui l'utilisent. Et donc, vous pouvez aussi le mettre sur votre CV quelque part, puisque ça a un identifiant. C'est donc une publication quelque part, mais une publication pédagogique. Il y a de la gamification dans ce qu'ils ont fait. Il y a même de la musique qui a été créée autour de la pratique de la comptabilité. Donc, c'est de rendre aussi l'apprentissage de la comptabilité ludique. Il y a un chat GPT Express qui a été créé. Et donc, pour conclure, elle voit Accounting Stream comme une communauté qui essaie de répondre à la problématique de changement de la comptabilité qui correspondent aux enjeux de la société. Donc, très prochainement, elle va faire un appel à manifestation pour éventuellement des études de cas ou alors pour de la révision aussi pour ces études de cas. Elle a laissé sur le dernier slide son email et puis l'adresse mail de Accounting Stream. This is it for me, Suzanne. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Conan. And what
Yeah.
I'll do right now, I'll spotlight you, Susan, and Trevor, so we can just have, that general conversation. And I think you may have actually covered some of the key points about what I really wanted to be talking, but maybe I pose one or two questions and we really open it to the, audience. I think it will be important people who want to ask questions to get the opportunity to do that. But thank you so much, Susan. I thought with Accounting Stream being open access, sort of what are those sort of opportunities or challenges that come with that? And, we're in a world where somehow some schools prescribe the textbooks that they want, students to use or, academics to use. And how do you see Accounting Stream in that space generally offering this completely free?
So with open access, we're very keen to maintain the whole project as open access. For us, that's part of why we got involved in it, and also why a lot of our contributors have got involved, is that we view it as free to use, and it reduces the friction involved in adopting the textbook. Clearly, for us as a project team, that involves us raising some funding upfront to make sure that we can publish and cover the ongoing maintenance costs. I think for educators, open access is helpful because it means that there's no additional cost to the student, and we know that, or the university. And we know that in the current times, lots of universities are having financial pressures, shall we say, certainly in the UK, but I know globally that's very much the case. It means we're independent from the large publishers. We're more agile in that we can change, should we wish to, very, very quickly. If something new comes along and we decide we want to insert a chapter on it, that we're very able to do that very quickly. With standard publishing, you can only change about 15–20% of a textbook in any one edition. So it means that we are more agile and responsive as things move along. For educators, you can adopt, as I said, you can adopt part or whole really easily by using the URL. It can supplement your existing material. So, for example, if your university prescribes you must use, I don't know, Trevor Hopper's Introduction to Accounting, and only Trevor Hopper's Introduction to Accounting, you can supplement where you think there might be a gap, or you might want to enrich your materials by using Principles of Accounting Stream's first textbook, without having to go through a lengthy library adoption process or approval process. So that makes it easier. It means that there's less gatekeeping of knowledge, if you like, and that different perspectives can be included. Does that answer your
Absolutely.
question?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much. Maybe Trevor will want to say something, but Conan, do you want to
Yeah.
recap that?
Yeah, I'm gonna recap that quick. So, la question de Yinka, c'est que dans la mesure où vous êtes open access, quelles sont les opportunités et les challenges dont vous faites face, puisque les universités en général prescrivent des livres. Et donc, Suzanne dit que, ben, en fait, vraiment leur politique, c'est de maintenir le projet en open access. Ça veut dire qu'on n'a pas besoin de payer pour accéder au matériel gratuit qui est développé par un ensemble de volontaires. Mais derrière, ça veut dire que préalablement à ce que ce soit open access, ben, eux, leur groupe, ils font en sorte qu'ils puissent faire de la levée de fonds pour financer le projet. Et en faisant ça, ça réduit donc, en fait, ça élimine carrément le coût d'accès du matériel ben, aux étudiants et aux instructeurs. Et puis, une des choses, c'est que le fait d'être indépendant, des grands éditeurs qu'on connaît comme des Pearson, des McGraw-Hill, c'est que ben, finalement, sur Accounting Stream, ils sont beaucoup plus agiles, flexibles dans, par exemple, à adapter les contenus. Et donc, pour les éducateurs, si vous avez déjà un textbook, ben, en fait, vous pourriez éventuellement utiliser le contenu, les ressources de Accounting Streams comme étant complémentaires à votre textbook. Il suffit d'insérer l'URL, en fait, le lien Internet du textbook, en fait, du textbook Stream dans votre matériel habituel. Et puis, ça permet aussi de créer un peu de diversité dans la connaissance puisque c'est indépendant, c'est pas les grandes majeures d'éditeurs. Donc, ben, on peut apporter des différents sujets qui correspondent à l'optique de comptabilité et grands challenges. Yinka, over to you.
Oh, no, Trevor, I think if you wanted to add a
Ah,
point to
pardon,
that.
Trevor, yeah.
Yeah, I'll just make some quick comments. I mean, one of my interests has been accounting in developing countries. So we all know about the resource constraints students and academics often face in those countries. So I think free open access is important. But I think one thing that's important is this mustn't be seen as just another, the Western or the Northern countries are saying how accounting should be done, and that, because so much of accounting education in developing countries is so sort of northern based and assumes that it's got universal truths. And there's opportunities here, not only to produce materials relevant to developing countries, but also for people in Western countries such as the UK or the States to use teaching materials from developing countries. It would be fascinating to have, say, case study sessions on, say, a Nigerian or a Somali case study.
No, absolutely.
It's
Very
a
good point.
it's a two-way exercise.
I agree. Conan, if you want to do a
Yes.
recap of that quickly,
Yeah,
and just before you
fantastic.
do that, colleagues and friends, if you've got a question, you want to drop it in the chat, let me know, or if you just want to indicate with the raise hand sign, and we can give you a chance to ask your question. Conan, please.
Fantastique. Donc, Trevor Hooper complétait la question de Suzanne en disant que ben, finalement, bon, lui, son intérêt particulier, et c'est ce que je vous avais dit, Trevor Hooper est très axé sur la comptabilité et le développement, et en particulier la comptabilité et les pays en développement. Il a beaucoup, beaucoup contribué dans ce space-là, a soutenu beaucoup de doctorants, tout ça. Donc, il dit que, ben, en fait, l'idée d'avoir du open access sur du matériel qui correspond à des enjeux nouveaux de la comptabilité, c'est finalement d'éliminer un peu cette friction la contrainte d'accès au matériel pour une partie du monde. Et on sait qu'en Afrique, on a vraiment du mal à avoir accès aux ressources en éducation. Et donc, Open Access permet de juguler cette partie-là. Maintenant, il y a une autre aussi idée importante, c'est que lui, son souhait, c'est d'avoir quelque chose dans les deux sens, c'est-à-dire des études de cas du Nigeria, de la Somalie, euh, qui pourraient accompagner l'enseignement, par exemple, dans les pays du Nord, parce que le constat que lui fait, et ça, c'est un constat que tout le monde fait, c'est que la comptabilité dans les pays développés, c'est une comptabilité finalement qui est conçue dans les pays en voie de développement, c'est une comptabilité conçue dans le monde développé. Donc maintenant, c'est d'avoir peut-être du matériel qui proviendrait aussi du monde en développement, qui peut être enseigné dans le monde développé et vice-versa. Voilà un peu ce que dit Trevor. Et Yinka disait que pour les francophones, si vous avez des questions, bon, si vous sentez de poser la question directement en anglais, pas de problème, mais vous pouvez aussi laisser les questions dans le chat ou alors vous levez la main pour poser votre question. Yinka, I hand it over to you.
Thank you. So while we're waiting for the questions, I mean, Susan, you did talk about something that I think it's very much of interest to African academics and scholars. And I think, Trevor, you made a good point, is to also see that what we teach really reflect the context. So it's good that you welcome those sort of African-based case studies. One thing, Trevor, and we've seen this in the work we've done in the continent, is sometimes people may genuinely want to do this, but they don't have the skill and the capacity to sort of put those case studies. Have you got thoughts in terms of what support or how you can, what are the ways they can start thinking about making those case studies that are suitable for the accounting stream?
So the first thing I would say is probably think about what you're teaching. Everybody has something they're particularly proud of in their teaching that they feel they works really well in their classroom and that that draws on their specialist knowledge, whatever that might be within the field. And then maybe think about how that links to the textbook. Clearly, it needs to align in some way to the broad outline of the textbook. And then maybe, I don't know whether we could look for expressions of interest and then maybe run a writing workshop. There are various approaches that we could take to helping people develop their case studies, but maybe start with a short case study and one of the quick cases rather than a full-blown case study and then progress on.
Absolutely, good point. Conan, you want to make a quick...
Yeah, quick. Yeah. So, Yenka avait une question qui t'a dit, ben, finalement, écrire des études de cas, c'est aussi une question de compétences. Et donc, quel est le soutien que Accounting Stream peut apporter pour des gens qui souhaiteraient proposer des études de cas? Et donc, Suzanne dit, ben, en fait, d'abord, partez de votre matériel que vous enseignez et que tout le monde est expert dans son domaine. Donc, vous, déjà, vous enseignez, vous avez du matériel que vous enseignez, vous avez des cas, peut-être que vous avez conçu vous-même. Maintenant, vous regardez ce matériel-là et vous regardez si ce matériel-là est en cohérence avec Accounting Stream, les thématiques d'Accounting Stream. Et voilà. Bon, et puis, elle dit aussi que peut-être c'est aussi de faire progressivement, c'est d'aller avec ce qu'ils appellent un quick case, c'est-à-dire des cas rapides, donc des petits cas courts, et puis à partir de là, avoir maintenant des grands cas. Voilà un peu ce que dit Suzanne. Yinka, over to
Thank
you.
you. And so I think, Theodora, this is something to keep in mind. I'm sure we probably will run some of this in the future, but it's something we might come back to. Suzanne, there's a question in the chat. I can see that. If you want, I can read it out. The first one is there a gap between university accounting curricula and the knowledge required for professional certification exams in the UK universities? Go ahead if you
That's
want
a
to.
good question. So I think the answer is it depends. There are some universities that completely map to professional qualification exams. So that might be ACCA exams, it could be AICPA CIMA exams. I think the question is, even with those students, even if they have full accreditation from the professional exams, do they have the skills when they enter the workplace? And of course, we know that they need nearly 3 years worth of practice as well to meet the certification requirements. But what we hear is that sitting exams in a university context is very different to doing the role. And there is a bit of a gap there. So irrespective, we hear from employers that there is a bit of a gap. So I'm not sure if that answers the question, because it's a very varied landscape in the UK in terms of how well that maps and how well or how big or small that gap happens to be.
Well, that's a good one. Conan, do we want to take two questions, then you can recap? Or
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, go ahead for that. Yeah, I'll
okay,
do
I
that.
think
I'll do the recap later.
okay, so Trevor, this may be something you want to jump into, and I think it's more generalist in terms of really where the profession is headed. So what can we do, or what can be done in a situation where emphasis is being placed on core sciences at secondary school level? And so I suppose that question is really, are we losing what it means, what accounting means to society? Because there seems to be this government focus on STEM and how much of accounting really is important in changing society.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it is a problem often in accounting education in universities, but I suspect also schools, that the first year consists largely of technical exercises, which then in effect defines what accounting is and what effect accounting has on students throughout the rest of their course. So I would argue that accounting in schools has to make similar adjustments to accounting in universities, albeit in a modified form, obviously, for the audience. I'd just like to say one thing, though, is if the university degree is merely mimicking what the professional courses are doing, what's the point of having the degree? Why is it in a university? It's and it's we as academics have much to offer, and the whole point of a university is to develop critical problem solving skills, which traditionally many of the accounting professional courses didn't do completely adequately. And that's where the skills of a university course and teachers lie. So, and finally, just go back to Susan's point, the reaction of professions is very varied, but an increasing number are recognizing the issues that we've raised and changing their syllabuses and accreditations accordingly.
Thank you so much. Conan, you just want to make this as
Yes,
quick?
fantastique. Yes. So, la question qui a été posée dans le chat, c'était de regarder finalement, est-ce qu'il y a-t-il une sorte de manquement entre ce que les professionnels veulent et puis ce qu'on enseigne à l'université. Donc, Suzanne disait, on appelle ça donc des gaps. Suzanne donc disait que en fait, en Angleterre, c'est très varié. Donc, il y a des universités qui essaient de se coller purement au programme développé par les organisations professionnelles, telles que par exemple en Angleterre, on a ce qu'on appelle AK, donc ACCA, vous avez ou alors AICPA, qui sont vraiment comme dans le monde francophone, ce qu'on appelle l'ordre des experts comptables, vous voyez, donc qui ont leur propre diplomation et donc leur parcours de formation. Donc l'idée, c'est finalement, est-ce qu'il y a une sorte de tension entre universités et ces professions-là? Alors, la réponse de Trevor aussi est de dire que si les universités copient stricto sensu ce que les professionnels ont, comme curriculum, ben, quel est l'intérêt de venir, par exemple, à l'université, sachant que l'idée de l'université, c'est de créer des compétences au-delà de la compétence technique, c'est-à-dire toute cette compétence sociale. Donc voilà un peu le débat qu'il y a pour l'instant. Yinka, I hand it over to you.
All right, thank you. I'll take two questions together. I'm sure, Susan, you will have heard this a million times, AI and really the profession. And there's a question there, and I think it's not really silly as they think it is, but I think it's a good one. I know, so can AI take the jobs of accountant? I want you to speak to that together with the question we just got from Mohammed, which is saying, I teach accounting, or sorry, I am an accounting academic in Gaza, and I'm trying to revamp the accounting curriculum in university. Can you please mention a base of principles to start to integrate AI skills into accounting education? So it's a bit like, on the one hand, is accounting really taking us out of business, or how do we now use it to do things we do?
Okay, so the first one is accounting going to extinguish is AI going to extinguish accountants? I think the answer is no. But what I think we're seeing is increasingly that A lot of the technical work is being automated by technology, maybe not AI, but different types of technology. And that's been the case for quite a long time. That means that when our students enter the profession, they're going to enter at a slightly higher level, and more will be expected of them in terms of their day-to-day activities. They won't be necessarily undertaking the types of work that we did when we were trainees, for example, which is really learning the basics, getting a good grounding in the technical things before you then move up in a very structured way. So the structure of professional work is changing a little bit, and that means that our students will need to be able to make those evaluative judgments and think critically much earlier on in their careers and take the responsibility for making those decisions. So they need to know where things perhaps, where the judgment lies, what the parameters around judgment can be, and really apply their knowledge and skills and ethics background to particular issues that they encounter in the workplace. They won't necessarily be doing a lot of the crunching type work that new trainee accountants historically did. In terms of how to work, okay, so for Mohammed, I think students need to understand the basics before they start relying on technology. So initially, I would maybe be getting them to critique what's coming out of the technology in a structured way. So for example, I had some master's students that I was teaching last semester, and they had an assignment, a ratio analysis assignment. And what we said to them was, yeah, use AI to calculate the ratios, but make sure that you calculated them yourself as well, and give us a critique on what it says so that we know you've applied your learning and your insights to the piece of work we're asking you to do. And I think we'll see more and more of more critical interaction, but that does mean that students need to know the base skills first. It doesn't mean they go away and they can just fully rely on systems of any type.
Thank you for that. Trevor, I will let you take, you want to make a comment there before
Yeah,
I
just a
give you
quick
some?
comment.
Yeah.
Going back to, I think, was it Mohammed who raised this? How
Yeah.
do you reform your syllabus in Gaza? Well, there is recent work by Dalia and Shahzad on how Israel has controlled the finances of Gaza and West Bank through accounting techniques. Now, the question I pose you is, in reformulating the syllabus that you're teaching accounting students in Gaza, would that work be considered in your content of your degree? It's highly relevant. Finito.
So, excellent piece. I think I wanted to bring you to a point again that I was seeing this from Richard in Philippines. It's very connected to that, Trevor. And it says, as a student, how can we encourage peers to look beyond technical rules when our local education is so heavily focused on employability and certification? And this is something that has to do with the Philippines. Any thoughts?
Well, I think maybe one approach might be to invite in people who are doing these roles and ask them about what the workplace, what skills are required in the workplace, and understanding how they need a broader perspective. Perhaps that might be one approach. Another approach might be inviting guest speakers from maybe other geographies, or to share their views.
Mm.
Yeah,
Okay.
just a quick one. I mean, accounting academics do have a degree of agency. I agree, it's often restricted by professional accreditation, or it may be restricted by the sort of textbooks which are available. But the whole point of the Accounting Streams project is to give academics some agency to pursue important issues which we as academics, but also employers and some professional representatives see as important and necessary to address. You have agency, a degree of agency.
Thank you. Conan, you want to just give a recap? I know this.
Yeah, very quick. Donc, la conversation qu'il y a là, bon, rebondit un peu sur l'idée du gap université, sur le dernier point qui est fait, mais il y a un point important que je voudrais bien résumer en français ici sur le lien entre AI et la comptabilité. Donc, est-ce que AI va faire disparaître la comptabilité? Suzanne dit non, AI ne va pas faire disparaître la comptabilité, que bien entendu, la comptabilité avait déjà été automatisée au-delà de AI. Par exemple, quand on utilise des softwares ou des logiciels de comptabilité, ben, c'est de l'automatisation quelque part. Et donc, non, AI ne va pas faire disparaître, mais par contre, ce qu'elle soulève, c'est que les nouveaux diplômés en comptabilité vont rentrer un univers de travail qui aura été transformé par AI. Et c'est en ce moment-là que ces diplômés-là devront avoir vraiment cette compétence dans le jugement. Hein. Donc, travailler donc la compétence des étudiants dans le jugement est fondamental de ce point de vue. Alors, Mohamed à Gaza dit ben, finalement, il y a cette idée de reformer par exemple un curriculum, comment intégrer AI dans la réforme d'un curriculum en comptabilité. Donc, Suzanne dit la chose suivante, c'est que avant d'intégrer la technologie dans une connaissance, ben, il faut que les apprenants aient les bases, les fondamentaux de cette connaissance. Donc, elle a donné une illustration sur un cours, je crois, de master qu'elle donnait sur l'analyse des ratios où elle a dit, bon, allez-y avec, calculer les ratios avec AI, mais l'idée est de dire, ben, si vous faites ça, est-ce que vous pouvez questionner le calcul qui a été fait par AI? Et donc, ça pose la question de est-ce que les auteurs, les apprenants connaissent d'abord les fondamentaux avant d'intégrer une quelconque technologie. Et voilà un peu globalement la discussion qu'il y a eu. Et Trevor Hooper finit en disant, ben, finalement, sur cette affaire-là, on ne peut pas aussi se laisser contraindre, par exemple, par la profession et que les enseignants et les chercheurs en comptabilité doivent avoir aussi ce qu'on appelle de la gentilité, c'est-à-dire doivent prendre de l'initiative. Et Accounting Stream permet de prendre cette initiative-là, de développer des choses qui font sens avec la société sans être contraint par des textbooks ou par des grandes contraintes institutionnelles. Yinka, this is it for this part.
Thank you so much. Just one thought there, Susan and Trevor. Professor A is kind of making an argument that, if we look at what we teach in accounting, it could also be STEM. What do you think?
I don't know what a STEM course is, so
I think it's probably the science, technology, and engineering, or well, I suspect that's what it is. But anyway, if there's a different definition, happy to hear that. I guess it's the whole idea of arguing whether it falls under science or non-science. That also is a function of funding.
This is a live debate, and I think perhaps it depends what theoretical approach you might take to accounting. In many universities, it is classed in the business school as a social science. In others, so in my case, I'm in a faculty of engineering. So you could argue that my university's perspective is that we are a STEM subject, but also the whole School of Management is within the Faculty of Engineering. I think it's a very live discussion, but I don't think it should distract us from accounting and the relevance of accounting and accounting research to our curricula.
Excellent. There's one that's not necessarily a question, but if anybody in the call is happy to connect with Ms. Ali, please do. But I've got just one question as we're nearing the close of this, but there's still, if you have questions, please drop them in the chat. But what I wanted to ask both of you now is looking ahead, where do you see us heading at? Maybe Susan first, I would say, if you think about everything happening, political instability and sort of re renegotiating of trade and trade boundaries and all the rest, and accounting, where is accounting in all of this conversation? Have we been left out completely?
I don't think so. I think accounting is as relevant as ever, in fact, more relevant than ever. We've got all these global challenges that we are struggling to resolve, and accounting tools and techniques place us in a really great position to be able to measure, monitor, discuss, evaluate solutions. And that's increasingly important, particularly in terms of sustainability, where we're seeing with increasing frequency bushfires, floods, and so on. And accounting has a significant role to play in these areas.
Thank you so much, Susan. I think there's another one. We'll take that before I wanted to ask some thoughts from you, Trevor. This is from Dimo. Traditionally, most accounting textbooks content have focused on financial reporting and corporate firms and just schemes through the topics. Currently, the accounting streams page related to financial reporting, which suggests similar focus. However, public sector and government, particularly in developing countries, tend to control most of the resources in these countries. And all right, I think the argument here is, are we unduly focusing on sort of corporate accounting versus government and public sector account?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at some African countries, there are not well-developed capital markets, but the contents of the widely used books are very much predicated on market serving large corporations in fairly refined capital markets. And governments and state organizations are the ones that are most active and most important for development. So it's the syllabuses in African countries have to reflect the context in which they're working. So the answer to that is, if that is the instance, yes, there needs much more to be done on government accounting, government accountability, and aid agencies, voluntary organizations, and so on. So yes, it's the answer there.
Yeah, Susan?
Yes, absolutely. I think that's a fair point. We do try and introduce different types of reporting entity. However, yeah, I would agree. The focus is primarily on, particularly in the financial reporting units, probably primarily on companies. We would really welcome more materials tailored to the public sector and case studies that bring that out. This is an evolving set of materials, and this is an evolving set of materials, and we're more than happy to listen to feedback and introduce additional different materials to suit our users. We need that feedback to come back to us.
Thank you so much. Conan, if you just want to recap.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can do that quick. So I will go from the STEM conversation till the last one in here, all right? Good. Donc, la question était de savoir, est-ce que finalement, on peut classer la comptabilité comme science ou comme une science sociale, finalement, science due aux sciences sociales. Donc, Suzanne disait que, en fait, ça dépend finalement des universités parce que le positionnement peut dépendre aussi, comme Yinka disait, peut dépendre aussi, par exemple, des financements. Donc, elle, par exemple, elle dit elle est dans une école d'ingénierie et donc la comptabilité est à l'intérieur de l'école d'ingénierie. Donc, elle présume que les gens perçoivent la comptabilité comme étant part des études techniques et d'ingénierie, par exemple. Mais dans certaines universités, la comptabilité est dans les sciences sociales. Mais la conclusion de Suzanne sur ce débat, c'est de dire, ben, en fait, ne nous laissons pas distraits par la nature de la science que représente la comptabilité, parce que concentrons-nous sur ce qui est essentiel et ce qui est pertinent, c'est quel est le rôle que la comptabilité peut jouer sur les grands enjeux d'aujourd'hui. Et que, par ailleurs, la comptabilité a un très grand rôle à jouer sur, elle peut se positionner comme étant un outil d'évaluation, de questionnement des solutions qui sont trouvées sur les enjeux qui sont pour l'instant pas encore très résolus dans les problèmes d'aujourd'hui. Et il y a quelqu'un qui avait posé une question dans le chat en disant, ben, Accounting Stream semble s'intéresser beaucoup plus au reporting financier, alors qu'il y a certains secteurs, il y a certains environnements dans lesquels la comptabilité publique est très importante. Et donc, Trevor Hooper disait, oui, il faut que la comptabilité soit le reflet de l'environnement dans lequel on est et que la comptabilité telle qu'on l'a aujourd'hui, c'est une comptabilité de marché capitaux, des marchés de capitaux. Or, l'Afrique n'a pas beaucoup de marchés de capitaux ou l'Afrique n'a pas un marché des capitaux très dynamique. Donc, notre comptabilité, si elle doit refléter notre environnement, elle doit vraiment prendre en compte la notion de la comptabilité publique, c'est-à-dire la redevabilité publique, la comptabilité des agences d'aide au développement, des choses comme ça. Et Suzanne reconnaît que Accounting Stream, pour l'instant, effectivement, porte sur euh, le reporting financier, mais elle accueille à bras ouverts des propositions de matériel sur la comptabilité publique. This is it for me,
Oh,
Yinka.
all right. We're finishing now, Susan, and Trevor. I'll be taking closing comments from you. But Susan, if
Mhm.
you just want to remind our members how to get in touch again, if you could put up the slide for,
Oh,
how
yes.
to connect with you and Accounting Stream. You did talk about a mailing list. People interested in joining that mailing list, how can they do that?
Yes,
Um,
so if you'd like to join our mailing list, there's a link to a form on the website, and you can sign up to the instructor resources at the same time.
Excellent.
Um,
I'm sure we'll get you back again, Susan, but closing statement, just, you know, with everything we've discussed, what is your one more piece of advice for us?
let's keep the conversation going. I think today's only the start.
Absolutely. Trevor?
Yeah, I concur with Susan and just say what an exciting time this is for accounting academics in Africa. There's so much happening and so much change that you need to adjust to. And this, to me, is what makes academic life and work interesting.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And I really want to thank both of you for, this enlightening conversation. We'll keep this going. Just a few housekeeping or closing comments before I pass this over. So just a quick reminder for everybody on the call, the 2026-2027 ACAFRE Call for Paper project is out. So, Theodore, if you can help me just drop that link. And I've got Steven in the room, Steven, if you just
Oh,
want to, I'll give you 1 minute, to kind of say something about ACAFRE. And by the way, Steven is a past president, so it's good to see Steven on the call.
Thank you. Thank you very
Very
much.
welcome.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Trevor and Susan. Thank you very much. It's very, very fascinating. Susan knows I've recently connected and been looking at the material and then using it in a way already. So I found it fascinating. Thank you. Thank you very much for that presentation. The main thing I'm supposed to talk about is more CAFRE, which
Yes.
is the Africa Call for Accounting and Research, African Accounting and Research Initiative, which is a funding call for research projects from African-based academics. We have a new, this is I think run out. I mean, in its current situation, its current form, I think we've done three, Yinka. Am I right? Is it the fourth one? Or is it the
This is
third
the
one?
fourth one, yeah.
Yeah, it's the
Fourth.
fourth one, where we are receiving the support of the Pan-African Federation of Accountants, where they talk about the sort of projects and topics of interest that they think is of interest, is of relevance to policymaking, accounting in Africa. And then, as a result, then we invite researchers to collaborate, to put forward proposals. We've managed to put the amount a little bit higher, thanks to Yinka's good negotiation. So we got $9,000 per project times three, so that will fund three projects in Africa. So the call is out. I think probably Yinka, you'll probably circulate the call on the chat if that's okay.
Yeah,
Or you want me to do that,
like,
or maybe?
Theodora is going to drop that in the chat.
Okay.
Hopefully.
So that will the deadline for submitting proposals on the 27th of February. There will be we've just finished that. You will hear soon of this. There's a webinar call on the 17th of February, organized by PAFA, where we will talk about the project that's just finished. And then we'll also talk about the new call. So to guide anyone who's interested to apply, it's really in the sense of developing research that is relevant to African context, that is applicable to African context, that speaks to an audience, that also can be eventually published, as well as a way to connect with practitioner policymaking. Theodora I'm just picking up Theodora's because she's here. Theodora was one of the previous recipients of the AAFA project. So I'll stop there, Yinka, unless
So
you think
before I
there's anything
let
else
you
you want
off
to
the
clarify.
hook, you
Yeah.
want to translate yourself back in French quickly, please.
Ok,
Yeah,
donc c'est juste de ma part, c'est juste un appel pour l'appel ACAFRI, qui est une initiative pour encourager la recherche en Afrique sur la comptabilité et la finance. Donc c'est une occasion, c'est la quatrième édition où nous offrons suite à la collaboration de l'association panafricaine des comptables, de l'association professionnelle des comptables en Afrique, qui offre $9 000 par projet, pour 3 projets, sur un projet de recherche en comptabilité en Afrique. Il y a des thèmes qui ont été mis en avant par l'Association panafricaine de comptables. Et donc, il y aura un document qui va être circulé qui est sur LinkedIn, mais aussi qui est circulé, qui va vous donner des informations. Vous pouvez faire une application, une candidature en français ou en anglais. Et nous sommes bien sûr intéressés du point de vue contexte anglophone africain, contexte francophone africain. Et il y aura 2 dates importantes. Le 27 février, ça c'est la date limite pour la soumission des candidatures. Et le 17 février, nous aurons un webinaire où nous allons expliquer, nous allons présenter les rapports qui viennent d'être complétés, 3 rapports qui viennent d'être complétés, et nous allons parler en plus de détails sur cet appel, et vous pourrez poser des questions et avoir des renseignements. Voilà. Thank you. Merci.
Merci. Conan, you want to talk about the AAFA conference in English and French? Just
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm gonna start in English first. Okay, thank you, Yinka. So the next conference of the AFA you're gonna have will take place in Johannesburg, right? This is a conference that we have every year in the first week of September, right? Yinka, I can't remember the exact dates but it's the first week of September every year. So you really want to book your calendar for that one. So the first call is already out, and I think we're gonna receive the papers. So please prepare the best of your research and join us in Johannesburg for September 26. So I'm gonna turn that into French now. Donc pour la conférence annuelle de AFA, c'est une conférence annuelle qui a lieu sur la première semaine de septembre, et cette conférence va avoir lieu à Johannesburg en septembre prochain. Donc préparez vos meilleurs papiers à nous soumettre. Voilà. So Yinka, this is it for me for AFA.
all right. Thank you very
The annual
much.
conference. The annual conference.
All right. Thank you very much. I'll pass it over to Theodora.
Hello, thank you very much. I'm very grateful that we all were able to join. I think my biggest highlight was context matter in the way we are teaching accounting. And so we need to make sure that as educators, we are either creating those mini cases, writing these things. I love the public sector example because I think last semester I also reflected and realized that a lot of our examples in class were corporate examples. And so instinctively or more consciously or intentionally now, I'm also trying to introduce more public sector related examples, right? So I think those are opportunities for cases. Those are opportunities to tell the African story and whatever context that you find yourself on this platform. Thank you so much. I put a small link to a quick post-event feedback. This is an event session that we run every month. And so I would want us to be on the space or the lookout for more events like this. Please fill the form and let us know your email addresses if this is something that you want to keep us engaged with, and they will send you future events. Thank you so much, Susan and Trevor. We're very, very grateful that you kickstart our 2026 really, really well. Hopefully, one of our goals this year is to be better educators and then better researchers as well. Thank you, Prof. Moses, for moderating this. There's been a lot of back and forth, but I'm so grateful. I also want to say thank you to Conan. Brief yesterday, please come and help us. And he's done marvelously well. I'm happy because there's so much people behind me rooting that we succeed in this endeavor. So thank you all so much. Thank you for making time to join us, and see you in February. Watch our space for our next event. Thank you. And please fill the post-survey event. Thank you. Bye.